So the question is, what the heck takes so long to adopt? Now, obviously I'm doing a video blog, so I must be some sort of an expert. I have completed one adoption. So I'll tell you about that one particular adoption. We were living in Juneau, Alaska, and we needed a Hague certified social worker to do our home study. If you want to adopt from China, you need a Hague certified social worker. We didn't have one in Juneau, so we had to fly one in, which meant we had to find one at Catholic Social Services in Anchorage, organize with her, who was organizing with the other families in Juneau for when they had post-placement visits and their own home studies so that we could split her airfare and her other expenses. But Nicholas and I were so excited about the adoption that we went ahead and started ordering paperwork while we were waiting for our social worker to come in. So we ordered our birth certificates, our marriage license. We got letters from our employers. Those types of letters basically say that you're employed, how much you make, how often you work, and how long they anticipate you'll be employed for. So by the time we got the social worker to come in and to write our home study, and we started getting some of the other paperwork together, such as our medical forms, you have to go for your home study to a physician and get a letter that just says, these people are in good enough health to be parents. That's all the letter has to say. Great, we went to the doctor and we got that. Then we found out that China has a more specific form. They want an HIV test, a blood test, vision, hearing. They want to know your height and weight. They want to know, I don't know, liver enzymes. So we had to go back to the doctor and get that form. By the time we had collected all of our paperwork and finished our home study and gotten it notarized, the paperwork that we ordered when we first started was expiring. Everything needs to be less than a year old, even if it's a birth certificate, even if it's a marriage license, even if nothing on that form has changed. Occasionally the requirements for the form change, so they say it has to be less than a year old so that they don't have to worry about updating it and making sure that it is in the most recent format that it's supposed to be in. So everything we had finished was expiring. We had to go back to the doctor and get all of those tests done again. And of course, I failed my hearing exam. So the doctor says to me, oh, just come in on Monday and anybody can give you this hearing exam. So I came in on Monday and everybody said, no, that's on a form that the doctor has to sign. We don't want to put anything on the form for him, so come back when the doctor's here, which meant another 2 weeks till I could get an appointment with him. Now at this point, I'm starting to stress a little bit because what if I fail my hearing exam again? It's okay, you can still adopt, but it's going to mean more time. You're going to need to go to a specialist who will write you a letter that says what the problem is and how you're treating it. Maybe it has to say how it would affect your parenting skills. Luckily, on the next visit, which was actually, I guess, our fourth visit to the doctor for the adoption, I passed my hearing exam. When our social worker finished up with our home study, she was actually leaving Alaska. I think she was moving to Nebraska or something. So she was great. She finished up the home study. She got it notarized. She sent it to us. Once you get all of your paperwork notarized, you need to send it to the Secretary of State to have it authenticated. Secretary of State is going to certify it. Okay, so you need to send it to the Secretary of State in the state where it was notarized. Well, we took all of our paperwork from Alaska and sent it to the Secretary of State of Alaska. And my birth certificate is from Texas, so we sent that off to Texas, and we had our marriage license from Florida, so we had to send that back to Florida. Well, of course, the home study gets returned to us. It wasn't notarized in Alaska. It was notarized in Nebraska. Okay, fine. So that's going to add a little bit more time. We're going to send it off to the correct place this time. Also, some of our paperwork came back because it wasn't notarized correctly. The notary in Alaska told us that she wasn't allowed to tell us what the verbiage was that was to be put on the paperwork. Basically, it just says this instrument was signed before me on, in the county and state of, and then she signs it and stamps it. And I'm going, well, I as a layperson don't know that I need to include the county. But you can't tell me that. I need to find that out from the Secretary of State. Okay, fine. Then once you do get that returned to you and you get it notarized correctly and you send it back off to the Secretary of State, then you can take your paperwork and you can send it to the Chinese consulate. There are several consulates that will service several states. So you send it to the correct Chinese consulate, which, by the way, you can't just use a mailman. You need to hire a courier who can walk it in for you. Once it's authenticated, is that right? Authenticated from the Chinese consulate, yes. Then you can send your dossier to China. You can pay them a dossier fee, which is several $1,000s. You can have it translated and sent to all the people that it needs to be sent to in China, and easy peasy, you can adopt. Obviously, there are different kinds of adoptions: a kinship adoption or a guardianship adoption. An adoption where the parent names you specifically can be so much faster. If you want to adopt a healthy infant from China, it's going to be a lot longer. But the wonderful thing about that is that parents are waiting for the children. And I think that's the way it should be. I think that families should go, look, this is something we're interested in. We're open to adoption. Someday you call us, and that child won't even have to wait for a day. We will be ready to go. So what if the call comes 7 years later? I guess all your paperwork is going to be expired. But other than that, it's great news because you're going to build the family. And I'm the mom, so you have to listen to me.